Hi, this is Mike Ignatowski, the creator of the GreenFox spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to make the spreadsheet behave like an electronic baseball score sheet or scorebook, and it automatically computes the game stats, which can be a big time saver. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you find this video helpful.
In this video, I'm going to cover the steps of how to upgrade your GreenFox spreadsheet to a newer version. Specifically, today I'm going to upgrade my version 2.10 GreenFox spreadsheet to the version 2.35. In my 2.10 spreadsheet, I have it set up in League Historical Team Season League HTS mode for the 1969 Mets schedule and tracking cumulative stats. And that's what I want to upgrade to this newer version. I should say that it's only necessary to go through this process if you're using GreenFox in one of the league modes where it's tracking cumulative stats. If you're using it in free play for individual games, there's no reason to upgrade. You can just download the latest version from the Facebook group and just start using that for your next game because no data is being transferred from one spreadsheet to the next. Throughout this process, because we'll be dealing with these two spreadsheets, I will be referring to them as the old and the new. The old spreadsheet being kind of my current spreadsheet, this version 2.10 that has my league configured and my data in it already for the games I've played, and the new spreadsheet, version 2.35 here, that doesn't have any data in it at all. So I just want to kind of make that clear. When I say old and new, that's what I'm referring to is the old spreadsheet and the new spreadsheet. The first step before we really even get started, I suggest that you make a backup copy of your old spreadsheet or your spreadsheet that has your current data in it, your current league and stats that you want to carry forward. And that's really the golden cargo here that you don't want to get lost. So I would suggest just make a copy of your old or your current spreadsheet as a just as a precaution, safety precaution, just in case. We are going to be copying things from that into the new one and kind of going back and forth. So I don't expect things to go wrong, but just in case, it's always good to have a backup. So the basic steps we're going to follow in this are steps that are documented in the newer spreadsheet, in the new one, on the League Help tab. So over here is the new spreadsheet, League Help. It might be in your old spreadsheet too, but always follow the ones in the new one in case there are any newer steps. So if I click this League Help spreadsheet, scroll over to the right, let me go up here, there'll be this nice kind of magenta colored header that says upgrade my GreenFox League spreadsheet to a newer version. And these are the steps that we're going to go through today. Just basically 17 easy steps. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not that difficult. We'll just stay on task and we should arrive there safely and successfully in not very much time. So let's get started. We'll look at this list, and you can see at the top here it mentions what I already kind of talked through about referring to these two spreadsheets as the old and the new, and throughout these instructions this capital O will refer to the old spreadsheet with your current data, and the capital N will refer to the new spreadsheet that where we're migrating your data into. So as I mentioned, in this scenario I've got a league set up in my old spreadsheet in HTS mode, historical team season for the 1969 Mets. If I look at my schedule sheet, you can see I've played 12 games. I think that's how many I've played. So, and that's what I want to transfer onto my new spreadsheet. So let's go over here to the instructions and start at the beginning. That's step one. So the N means on my new spreadsheet, Because on the score sheet, change the mode to league. So I'm assuming that this your new spreadsheet is, right out of the box or just downloaded from the Facebook page, so it doesn't have anything in it. If you ever used it for something before, you should um, clear anything out that was in it, so that it's kind of starting in a clean status. So it says change the score sheet to league mode. So let's go to the score sheet. You can see it by default, it always starts in free play mode. So I'm going to click that, and it says and follow the guidelines here to switch it to league play. I'm going to say yes, that's what I want. Okay. So now if I go to my spreadsheet, it says question mark league because I've started in league mode, but my league isn't configured yet, as you know, because you've already done this before. So let's go back to the steps. We've completed step 1. Now on to step 2. In this step number 2, you can see here it basically says go to your new spreadsheet, and on the league sheet, configure the league to be the same as your current league, and be sure to click the validate league settings button. And this part here is just the warning I just mentioned, that if you had used this spreadsheet before, you should reset it before you do anything else. So just to kind of review, if I go back to my old spreadsheet and go to my league, here's what I'm trying to recreate, the same setup. So I'm going to go to my new one, go to the league sheet. It's a little bit cramped here trying to see everything, but so I'm going to start off with this mode. I want to set it to historical team season mode. And it's going to say, go enter the year. Now, I just remembered this. So, as you probably remembered from before, in order to make this work, we need to have the accompanying retro sheet spreadsheet of data to make this work. And right now I don't have that open yet, but this made me think of it. So because we're looking to use 1969 data for the Mets, I need the 1960s data file. So I have them over here. I don't think I have it open. Oh, I do. But this is it. I need to open this, the GF Retro 1960s spreadsheet. And this is how it starts out. Yeah, I don't really need to do anything with it, just minimize it. But if you open it and you get a warning up here about that it's in protected view mode or something like that, make sure you take it out of the protected mode. You might say enable editing or something like that. I've seen it a couple times, but if you need to have it in kind of normal mode, not protected, so that the other spreadsheets can see this one and get the data from it. So I'm just going to minimize this, but it has to be open, so I'm just going to minimize it and then finish my task. So now it's enter the year, 1969. It filled in the team, so I know it found the spreadsheet. Now it says select my team. I'm picking the Mets, so I choose them. It fills it in. It says next, click the big purple button to load the data. That's what I'm going to do. This tells me it could be a couple minutes, so go get a cup of coffee or whatever you want. So while it's copying that data over, right now we're just recreating the league setup in the new spreadsheet. That's all. This is kind of laying the groundwork before we transfer any of the game data that we've generated in playing the 12 games. But the schedule should be the same. That's what we're really trying to get here. The schedule, the player list, the rosters. Beautiful. Now we reach the success. It says historical data has been transferred. You should look at it and click the validate league settings to guide me through finishing up the league configuration steps. So I'm going to say OK with that. And the main thing here, if I click validate, it's going to say, hey, your league ID's messed up, because I don't have that in here. So you can see I can either, so I'll just retype it. You could copy it, you could paste it. To be honest, at this point, it probably doesn't even need to be exactly the same. It wouldn't care, but it's best if it is. I'm going to show you the other thing. If I go to the new old one and I Control C or right click and hit copy, I could copy it from there and go to my new one and hit Control V or paste it in, and now I've got those things set up. I'm going to clear that out. So now I have my ID, my name, my data has been loaded as it shows here, all the stuff, so I should be able to redo my validate league settings, and it says success. It appears to be valid. I'm going to ignore this for now, and now click the big, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll go back to the instructions. It says I could click the activate league play here, but I'm going to go back to the instructions here to see what I got to do next. So if we go back to the instructions here on the new sheet, the league help, we just completed step 2, and now we're on to step 3. So on the new sheet it says activate league mode in the score sheet by clicking the green button on the league sheet, which is kind of what it was leading us to before, but I wanted to make sure we're following these steps. So let's go back to we're on the new spreadsheet, the league sheet. We'll click the green button. Do I want to continue? Yes. And this will set the score sheet to league play mode. It says success, and I can click the game ID to load a game if I want to, but I'm not ready for that yet. But the important thing is it's now in League HTS mode. Job well done. Let's go back to this steps. So on to step 4. It says use the config sheet on the new spreadsheet to configure any custom hitter or pitcher info or rating columns and apply them so that they match what you have in your old spreadsheet. So if we look in the old spreadsheet, I have it over here on the config tab. You can see I'm using 2 columns for the hitters, the speed and arm, and 2 for the pitcher, this roll and point of weakness. And I need to set up my new spreadsheet the same. So I'll go to my new one, go to the config tab, and put these in. So you can copy and paste them or however you want to fill them in with your keyboard. That's all I'm doing right here, but anyway. And then I'll click one of these buttons to apply. It doesn't really matter which one because we'll apply both. So I'm going to click the batter one. It says they've been updated. Would I like to also update the pitcher ones? And I'm going to say yes. That was all right. So they've both been done. So now, if I look in my score sheet, I have the speed and the arm column set up. For the pitcher ratings, I have the roll and the point of weakness set up for both. And if I look over on my new spreadsheet in my MPL, you can see here in that sheet I have the speed and the arm, and the same thing with the pitcher stuff, and my rosters will have it. So they'll all be in sync now. So that's that step. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, back to the yellow brick road instructions here on the LG Help tab. We just completed step 4. We're on to step 5 now. On the new spreadsheet, go to the schedule sheet and unlock the schedule sheet data and click the pink button. This will prevent it from accidentally loading a game into the score sheet. Alright, so our new spreadsheet, schedule sheet, click the pink unlock button. Let's move this over. Up here in the upper left is the unlock schedule data pink button. So that's what we're going to click on the new spreadsheet. So if you notice here, it shows the schedule lock status. Once I click this, it changes to unlocked, and it tells me that now it's unlocked and you can edit more things, but while it's unlocked you can't load a game into the score sheet, which is okay. I'll say okay. we've done that. Let's go back to the instructions. That was 5. Now we're on to step 6. Step 6 says on the old spreadsheet, on the schedule sheet for games already played, copy the sim game note and sim game date cells and paste them onto your new spreadsheet. So let's go to the old spreadsheet, onto the schedule tab, and I'm going to scroll over here. Here is the cells it's talking about, the sim game note and sim game date. So I'm going to make sure I'm scrolled all the way to the top. And this is just to track, if you put any notes in here, they'll be right in this column. And the date that you played these games shows up here. And these don't show up because I didn't add that feature yet. So I'm just going to start up here in the upper left, even though there's no data here. But I'm going to copy all of this so I know I got to paste it at the top. So I'm going to highlight them all, select them, go over here to my new one. And I'm not sure why sometimes, but I just lost my selection. So I'm going to go back here and copy this again. And now scroll to the top, click in this upper left one, and hit Control V and paste. So this is just simple copy and paste, but you want to make sure that you got things lined up. So I see, this bunning no hitter is on this game on this April 17th, and that's where it is over here too. So I should be good with that. Now let's go back to the instructions. We just completed step 6. We're on to step 7. On the old spreadsheet schedule for games already played, copy the score cells and paste them into your new one. So back to the old, we're still on the schedule sheet. Have to scroll over a little bit here. But you can see here are the scores of the games I already played. So I'm going to make sure I'm scrolled up to the top and highlight all these things, copy them. And let's see if I figured this out yet, how to make this work. Here's my score. I'm going to do this again. So it seems like if I have to switch sheets, it loses the selection. Anyway, so now I've selected my scores and I've copied them. I go over here, I'm scrolled to the top, I click the top cell, I paste in my scores. The last one was this Mets Cardinals with Jim McAndrew, and that's where it is over here too. So that tells me it's lined up. Okay, so we've completed that step. All right, back to our instructions on the new sheet at the help. Let's scroll this a little bit so we can see where we're at here. But we've completed it through step 6 and 7. We just did. Now we're on to 8. On the new spreadsheet, schedule sheet, lock the schedule sheet data by clicking the violet button. And this should update the number of completed game cells and also perform some cell formatting based on the winner and loser of the completed games. Okay, so basically it says go to on the new spreadsheet, schedule sheet, click the lock schedule data button. So let's go to the schedule. Scroll over. Remember, here was the unlock. Right below here is the lock schedule data button. That's what we're going to do. And hopefully when we click this button, this will switch to locked. It will update the number of completed games. It would update the scheduled games too if they were a different number, but we have the same number of games here. And over here, it should update, color code these things of the games that we played based on these scores. It now knows who won the games. So let's click this lock. And it just says, hey, I just locked this and I updated some stuff. So you can see here, now it says 12 games completed. It denoted these games as having been played by color. And over here, it updated these colors since I'm replaying the Met season, it just colors in their name, and the green boxes are the ones they won, and these reddish salmon ones are the ones they lost. So that did its job. On to the next step. So now back at the instructions, we are on to step 10, which is, it says on the old spreadsheet, on the MPL sheet, the master player list, if you entered any custom data for players on your MPL sheet, copy that data to the new spreadsheet. So this is an optional, optional meaning if you didn't use any of this in your existing setup, that you can skip this step, but I did. So if I go to my old spreadsheet, the MPL sheet, and if I scroll down here to find somebody that I entered, because I only entered stuff in really 5 columns. These 2 for pitchers, these 2 for batters, and I also use this positions column. And you can see the first one I run into is Don Clendenin, even though he's shown on the Expos, but he finished the year with the Mets. You can see here in this column. So I'm going to copy that, and then farther down here are all the other Mets. Now in this version, this 2.1, this feature here doesn't always work, if it ever works, where you click the name of the team and it only shows those players. So hopefully you're not using version 2.1 and you won't have this problem. But anyway, so let me get back to Don Clendenin and move over here to my MPL sheet so I can get ready for my copy and pasting. But here I am going to scroll down till I find the Mets. And when I do, okay, here's the Mets. I'm going to follow these instructions of clicking the team, and it works almost right. So the top players are all the Mets, but it also shows the players after the Mets, but I don't care about that. But so here you can see Don Clendenin is shown because he's on the Mets. He played on the Mets during the year. So I'm getting, now I can do my copy and paste. So I go over to my old sheet. I'm going to just highlight these 3 cells from Don Clendenin, and I'll select them, move over here to my new one, and I'm going to click the first cell and paste those in. All right, now I'm going to go over here and scroll down to the rest of the Mets and make sure these should all be in the same numerical order. But the first guy is Tommy Agee, so I'm going to click the upper left cell there. Actually, I'm going to go all the way over to this point of weakness. So I didn't enter anything in these C and D, so over to the second one on my picture, and I'm just going to highlight these till I get all these Mets all the way down to Ron Taylor. So I'm going to select all those, go over here to my new one. I'm starting at Tommy Agee in this position thing, so I click that and I paste it in, and I want to make sure I got it kind of lined up right. So if I go down to, L. Weiss should have these 3 positions and a 15 in the speed. L. Weiss, so he does. So I feel like they're good. I have one more player here though. This Jim Gosger, who ended on the Mets. So I'm gonna go over here and try to find him. He doesn't really have any data except this NC, which I entered because I did no stands for no card. I didn't have his card, so I couldn't use him anyway. But I'm gonna, for completeness, I'll bring it over here and put it in. So that was Jim Gosger here. I'll paste those in. So that's all I did as far as enter that custom data. You may have more things if you did all the players in the league or whatever you had done. But if you did any and you want to keep that data, you should copy it here. If you didn't if you entered it and decide you don't really need it, you don't have to copy it. You can always enter it later in your new spreadsheet, however you want to do it. Since this doesn't really affect the stats, but it's just trying to save your work that you already put in if you're using this data you entered. So once that's in, we're good, and now we're on to the next step. All right, back to the instructions. We've completed step 10, which was copy that MPL data. Now on to 11. Let's go on to the new spreadsheet, back to MPL sheet, or click the copy rating info data to rosters button. All right, so let's go to the MPL sheet in the new spreadsheet. We enter our data, and it's just saying to click this copy rating, whatever button up here to copy the data we entered or pasted here onto the roster sheet. So we'll do that. It gives us a little warning. It might take a while, but it doesn't take too long. It's done. Great. I'm going to trust it. It should work right. Back to the instructions. So that was step 11. Okay, we got 11 down, a few more to go. We're on to step 12. And this is, we pretty much completed the portion of configuring the new spreadsheet to work like the old one. Now we need to get the golden data that we had saved from our games that we played from the old spreadsheet to the new one. And that's what we're going to do now. So step 12 is on the old spreadsheet, go to the GPBS sheet, which is the game player batting stats, and copy your batter data to the GPBS sheet in the new one. And there's a little warning or alert here that says before pasting, be sure you have scrolled to the top row of the destination sheet. You can scroll to the top row on your new sheet before you paste it in so it lines up. So let's do what it says. Go to the old spreadsheet, GPBS. So that's what we're going to do. If you can't see them all, if you right click down in this, you can get all these sheets and you can just jump to it. GPBS. Alright, so you want to make sure there's nothing filtered here. This has this team ID filter, so I'm going to clear this filter. I'm going to scroll to the top. So I kind of want to see. So there's 268 rows in this. Or I'm down to 268. Row 268. Just so I kind of know what I'm working with here. So I'm back up at the top here. That's my old one. Over on my new one. Let's get that set up. Go to the same GPBS sheet. Here we are. I'm going to scroll it over here. It looks kind of ugly, but it's okay. I want to point out one thing. You can see here, one difference in this version 2.1 to 2.35 is 2.35 has this number column in it, and I believe 2.2 also has it in it. So I want to make sure that we don't copy this into that. Another thing I'll point out, and I'll show it here on this version tab in the new one, that in version 2.2, this line here where it says important, it says switch the error and the ground in the double play stat columns in the game stats and the batting stat sheets. This is very important if you're upgrading your league mode, which is what we're doing right now, if you're tracking either of these stats. So my suggestion here, so here you can see, and this is the version 2.1, the old one, these last two columns are errors and then ground in the double play. Over in the new one, you can see it says they're reversed. Ground in the double play and then error. And I switched those because it made more sense that the error which is kind of a special stat column, isn't with the same group of all these other ones that are kind of automatically computed by the spreadsheet. So I didn't like doing it, but I figured I'm better early than later. So if you care about those stats or you're tracking those stats, it's up to you. But here's my suggestion: before you copy them on the old sheet, I would switch these columns of data. So if you're not starting, this is only if you have 2.1. So there are different ways to do it, you know, but I would do it within the old spreadsheet first. So you could, what I did here was you could sort by these. So you, okay, these are all the ones that have people that have this data. I could basically just copy all this. I would cut it and paste it over here. And then for these people, I would cut these and paste them over there. You can do it manually and just move all these over, however you want to do it. But don't copy and paste because you don't want to duplicate these numbers. You want to just switch all these, basically switch these two columns. So I'm not going to, well, do that here. Well, actually, I guess I can. So what I would do is this. Since I'm only going to care about the Mets stats really, and I can worry about everything else, I'd go over here and I would filter this team to just say, just show me the Mets. Okay, these are all my Mets. And then I have this sorted by the ground in the double play, so I know these are the only people that have that. And I'm going to copy these over here. And the first guy that has any errors is Ed Charles. So I'll move these errors into the ground in the double play. So I'm going to go up here, highlight these, Control X, Control V. And then I'm going to click this here, go down to this one, Control X, Control V. And just for my sanity, I can go up here and change these columns to now reflect what I did, and it jives with what's over here. And I want to reiterate, it's kind of, I don't want to say optional, but if you don't care about these particular stats, then you can ignore it. If you don't have, if you're starting off with a version newer than 2.1, this isn't a problem. You don't have to do this at all. They'll automatically line up with the new spreadsheet. Okay, so that's just a little bit of detour. I apologize for that, but let's do what we were supposed to do here, which was copy these stats from the old to the new. And what I want to do is undo this filter so that there's no filters here. So I have all the rows. Remember, I think it went down to 268. All right, that's what I'm down to. So I just click in the upper left. I scrolled all the way to the top. I click the upper left. I use the keyboard to kind of highlight all these things, but you can just do it manually, however you want to do it. But select all your data columns. Control C, copy. I'll go over to the new one. I guess I should scroll this over. Scroll all the way up to the top. This is what I was saying, scroll to the top. You can't, because you can't see anything. Remember, I'm not going to paste in this number column because I'm starting with the game ID. And I click right here and paste. And there's all my data. All my batter data from all my games. And I look and it ends at 268, which is where I want it to. So, mission accomplished on that. That was probably the hardest step. So, after that, we'll go back to the steps. And as you could probably guess, the next thing we're going to do is the same thing except for the pitcher stats. So we'll go to the old spreadsheet, to the GPPS, the games played pitching stats, and copy all that data from the old spreadsheet to the new one. And the same thing, will make sure you have the new one scrolled to the top. So the good news is this doesn't have any reversed columns. So let's go to the old spreadsheet, the GPPS. Make sure there's nothing's filtered, which is good. The order here doesn't really matter. I mean, this, you can see this is sorted here, but it doesn't really matter what order it is. And you can see it goes down to row 56. So go to my new spreadsheet, get this kind of queued up to the same place. Make sure I'm scrolled to the top. Make sure I'm scrolled all the way over. Back, click to the upper left. Highlight all these. Go to the end. Whoops, don't go past the end. The last one is this pitch count, if you're using any pitch count. If you're not using any pitch count, you could skip that column, but it won't hurt anything. So Control C, copy it all. Go to my new one. And same thing, there's no number column here. In the newer versions, if you have the number column, you can copy that. You should copy that also. But if you don't have it, you just skip it. Go to the top, click on the top one. Under the game ID here, paste it in. And it ends at row 56. Look at my old one. That's what this one did. So this looks good. If I scroll over here to the end, you can see this has 125. Here's the 125. So this looks good. Okay. On to the next step. There's all my pitching. In a lot of ways, we're on to the next step. Done. But there's some little tidying up to do. So let's finish up going through the list here. We just completed step 13, which was copying the pitching game data. Step 14, on the new spreadsheet, go to the GTBS sheet and click the Compute Game Team Batting and Pitching Stats button to recompute whatever. Alright, so go to this, on the new one, go to the GTBS and click this button. So let's do that. GTBS on the new one. You have to scroll these over to see the buttons. Scroll to the top. So here this is the button. It says compute the per game team batting and pitching stats. I'm pretty sure that's what the button was saying. Yeah, team batting and pitching stats. So the main thing is click the button that does batting and pitching. I see the verbiage is slightly different, but this is what it's talking about. So click that, and it'll use all that data we just copied over to figure out these game stats. Then we'll go to the next step, step 15. Go to on the new spreadsheet, the CPBS, the cumulative player batting stats, and click the compute all blah 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 button. It's green. So on the new spreadsheet, CPBS, scroll over, scroll up. Here's the button. It says compute all the cumulative stats. You click this button, cross your fingers, watch some Excel backflips, and it's done. And with that, all the stats have been transferred. As kind of a sanity check, you could, let's look at this cumulative batting stats. If we go down to the bottom and just look at these couple columns and say 771, there's nothing filtered here, so the total stats would be 771 at bats and 197 hits on the new one. If we go to the old one, let's just kind of see what some of these, we can see it's the same numbers, 771, 197. It's got a batting average of 256. Looks good. Go to like the cumulative team pitching. Look at those ones. Just for you see 46 pitchers used, and there's 635 outs. So these numbers are exactly the same. So that should make you feel good. You're almost done. Let's go back to the instructions to wrap this up. So that was step 15. Step 16, depending on the type of league you have. If you have historical league season, you do one thing. You go to recompute your standings. But in this example, I'm using a historical team season for the 69 Mets. So it says go to your league sheet and click the rose pink recompute team record button. Okay, let's go to the league sheet. Here's this lovely rose pink button. And what it's going to do, we could have done it before, but I'm following the directions, is it'll fill in these cells here with the Mets record. So we'll do this. And there you go. 12 games. They're 6-6. And with that, if we go back to the instructions, the last thing here says save your new spreadsheet. So we'll go up here to the little floppy disk icon and click save. Smile, pat yourself on the back. You just upgraded your spreadsheet. And as kind of a, I'm going to expand this now. Go back to my score sheet, version 2.35. It's in league mode. I could go to this game ID. It'll pop me over to the new schedule sheet, and it tells me to pick a game, and I could pick my next game. It's this Mets versus Phillies. Click this game ID, and it loads up my score sheet, and I'm ready to go. Well, that wraps up this video. I apologize for the length of it. I know it's kind of long, but I wanted it to be thorough so that people felt confident that if they needed to upgrade their GreenFox spreadsheet in the middle of a project, that there'd be something they could follow and have confidence they could do it and not be able to take advantage of new features and newer versions if you're not done with an existing GreenFox League project. Thanks again for watching. Please feel free to contact me or post comments or questions. I'm glad to respond and answer any questions anybody may have. And enjoy GreenFox. Thanks.